Is Putin officially tapping out on his little offensive in Avdiivka? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It's October 16th, 2023. This is your daily Ukraine update. Let's get into it. First off, one noteworthy fact before we talk too much. Today is actually day 600 of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And as we can see, while there hasn't, when you look at the aggregate over the last 2 years from the apex of Russian advances occupying huge portions of the country here, you can see just how much Ukraine has brought back from Russian control. And given that it's easy to forget, Russian forces, the Russian military at the start of this invasion was considered one of the greatest in the world. As I would used to tell people, one of only 5 militaries capable of independent expeditionary operations. And so to see that the Ukrainians pushed them out of Kiev, out of Kharkiv, out of Kherson, is still admirable and considerable progress. But the last year or so has really represented a challenge for both sides in terms of breaking what is appearing increasingly like a defensive stalemate. As you can see, in the last 24 hours, Russian forces launching 57 combat engagements, still concentrated in and around Avdiivka, and these two prongs here, Krasnohorivka and Pervomaisky, but it looks like the overall volume of attacks has decreased considerably. This is probably going to look, if this is truly where Russia wants to conduct its offensive operations going forward, I suspect it's going to look a lot like Bakhmut, inch by inch, block by block advances, characterized by very heavy artillery preparation. You can also see fixing operations happening in and around Verbova, in and around the elsewhere in Zaporizhzhia, as well as in and around Kurdyumivka, but likely part of efforts to block Ukraine's own offensive efforts elsewhere. And of course, you still have some attacks here in the north, but every time it seems like these are scattered so far along this line that there's not really much of a prospect of them turning into any kind of meaningful offensive. But other than that, that's really it, right? 57 is a fairly low number, especially given Russian offensive efforts in the past. Now, guys, if you have been living under a rock, you may have missed the fact that I have launched Strike Gum. The inspo was, of course, my time in Afghanistan, drinking these gross energy drinks to try to get myself fueled and focused on long patrols. But when it's 135 degrees out and you're drinking a hot, not a warm, a hot Rip It energy drink loaded with sugar, yeah, you get your caffeine, but damn, it is an unpleasant experience. So I worked with a manufacturer in Denver to create Strike Gum. It's a refreshing mint flavor. It has 90 milligrams of caffeine in every piece, 100 milligrams of alpha GPC, 0 sugar, 5 calories in each, and of course, the tray we have on sale right now. So if you're interested in getting the equivalent of literally 75 energy drinks, it's just $69, right? So that's like 68 cents a piece, which if you're someone who knocks back an energy drink a day, this is a more convenient, way more affordable alternative that also isn't going to taste gross. I'm sorry, but I've had enough energy drinks in my life to know that they taste disgusting. There's no other ways around it. So check us out, strikegum.com. Now, what I thought was most noteworthy is that Russian President Vladimir Putin may be trying to, quote, temper expectations of significant Russian advances around Avdiivka. Putin claimed in an interview on Russian state TV 2 days ago, or yesterday, that Russian forces are conducting, quote, an active defense in the Avdiivka, Kupiansk, and Zaporizhzhia directions. This is really interesting, given that you and I have seen the same footage, and we're going to be taking a look at it on Combat Vet News tomorrow, but we've seen the same footage. He's obviously seen the same things that we have, which is an eye-watering amount of Russian armor, rotary wing assets, huge waves of Russian light infantry. This is not an active defense. That was an offensive operation. There is almost no other way around it, right? We've never seen T-90s rolled out for anything other than a major offensive. So the idea that he is now trying to spin this as just an active defense, where, again, an active defense can be successful without making territorial advances. This is his way of spinning the fact that his offensive has largely failed. They've lost a tremendous amount of combat power for literally no gains, gains that are just absolutely tiny, even tiny compared to, again, Ukrainian offensive operations, right? Like the ones in and around Verbova and Robtina, or outside of Bakhmut, right? You can see here, again, even this shaping operation sheared off actually a considerable amount of Russian advances relative to what we've seen in Avdiivka, which is just comically little. So it is clear that the Putin and Kremlin spin machine is ratcheting up to try to convince us that this Avdiivka was actually never an offensive at all. Right, Russian mill bloggers, of course, trying their best to do the right thing, but in Russia, you're wrong if you report the truth, or even if you report the wrong kind of lies. Russian mill bloggers initially making claims of advances over 10 kilometers, preposterously exaggerating the degree of success when the reality is probably, 10 meters would be a better characterization of that initial offensive. But we'll see. Russian forces are going to, like they point out, continue to operate around Avdiivka, likely at a lower tempo. That's what I think we're going to see. We're going to see them pivot to the Wagner method of absolutely glassing a few dozen meters with artillery and then pushing their light infantry troops into it. It's not necessarily a great strategy, but it's maybe the only one that Russia knows will at least produce some kind of measurable effect. Anyway, guys, thank you so much to all of our Colonel tier members from combatvetnews.com, all of our Lieutenant tier members. I really couldn't do this without you guys. I appreciate you so much. We're going to be checking out a bunch of the footage from this major offensive tomorrow. So if you want to get in on that, definitely become a member and join us at combatvetnews.com. Hit subscribe and like, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.